This is Alcatraz, the most secure prison in the US. Over 70 heavily armed officers patrol every inch of the prison island. 4 watchtowers are strategically placed around the cell block, and a 3.7 meter high barbed wire fence prevents any escape attempt. The whole island is surrounded by 10 degrees Celsius cold water all year round. Inside, guards in the weapon galleries and corridors monitor every single prisoner around the clock. Alcatraz is considered inescapable. Yet, on the night of June 11th, 1962, a group of inmates tried what had never been done before. The prison break is built on betrayal, music, and a secret tunnel. What was supposed to be the most legendary escape ever turned into one of the biggest mysteries of American history. Every detail of Alcatraz, from its isolated location to its strict organization, was strategically thought out. The main cell house is divided into 4 blocks: A, B, C and D, each with 3 floors. Blocks A, B and C form the core of the institution and house the regular inmate population. Separated from the main section lies Block D. This part of the cell house is exclusively designed for the most dangerous criminals. The so-called hole was the worst punishment imaginable, namely complete isolation. 50 meters away in cell B138 sits Frank Morris, the leader of the escape group. Next to him in B140 is Alan West, a convicted car thief. 5 cells on his right is John Anglin in B150, known for his violent heists, and besides him, Clarence Anglin in B152, his brother and accomplice. All of them sit in tiny cells which are 4 square meters big and only equipped with the bare minimum. In front of each is a steel door which can only be opened via a central locking system at the end of the corridor. It is operated by armed guards who patrol the cell block at all times and are responsible for the 13 daily counts. They ensure that no inmate reaches the threshold of the double steel door entry system. Only if the inner door is completely closed and locked can the outer one be opened, and vice versa. Additionally, the entry is protected by officers in the gun galleries on both ends of the corridor. At first glance, the island seems impossible to escape, but the group has a genius plan. In 1850, the US Army turned Alcatraz, also known as the Rock, into a military fortress before it was transformed into the most secure federal prison in 1934. But Alcatraz came at a cost. Running a prison on a remote island was expensive. Supplies had to be shipped in and maintenance was a constant struggle. Additionally, the aggressive salt water corroded everything. Metal bars rusted, concrete walls cracked, and pipes leaked almost as soon as they were repaired. The prison was always decaying and always falling apart. To cut costs, inmates were required to assist with daily upkeep, fixing pipes, painting walls, or even repairing logs. And it was during such maintenance work that one inmate, Alan West, found a weak point: a ventilation shaft in a utility room, missing its fan motor. During his break, he tells Frank Morris, a highly intelligent man and West's only friend. Together, the two recruit the Anglin brothers, who Morris knew from a previous prison sentence. If only the group had known, one of them wouldn't make it. The 4 men knew their escape depended on reaching the ventilation shaft in the utility room. The only access to it was through the locked door of the restricted utility corridor behind Block B. A passage off limits to nearly all inmates. Only West, trusted for his maintenance work, could walk in freely. For the others, the corridor was out of reach. But there was a second, far more inconspicuous option. Every cell in Block B was equipped with a ventilation shaft that connected directly to the corridor. So in theory, the group could enter the utility corridor through the cells on the first floor themselves. But there was still a major problem. Even if the vent cover could be loosened, the 15 by 23 centimeter opening was far too small for a grown man to squeeze through. The shaft had to be enlarged, no matter what it took. So, Morris instructed the others to steal metal spoons from the kitchen in their cells before then spent hours grinding the spoons. Finally, they built tools with which the wall around the ventilation shaft could be broken down. Now, after the evening count at 7:30 PM, they began working. The guards also did their rounds at night, but left short gaps in between checks. One man dug while his cellmate kept watch, warning him with knock signals. However, the perfect cover came during the daily happy hour. For 1 hour, all inmates were allowed to play music, which kept most guards away. The group joined in, West on accordion, Morris on guitar, the England brothers singing. While one performed, his neighbor kept working undisturbed. Here, their homemade drill, powered by a stolen vacuum cleaner motor, came into play. With it, they drilled around the ventilation grates and then hollowed them out with the spoon later at night. The men concealed their progress with fake grills made from cardboard and instruments. And after months of work, in May 1962, it was finally done. Morris and the England brothers had dug holes in their cell walls and were able to access the utility corridor. West was about to break through the wall. In the utility room, they saw West's ventilation shaft 9 meters above. They climbed up a pipe and used their tools to loosen the rusty screws. From here, they could finally escape the cell block and reach the shore. To reach the bay, the England brothers had stolen over 50 raincoats and meticulously stitched them into life jackets and a 6 by 14 foot plastic raft. Additionally, they welded the seams with heated pipes and fashioned paddles from wood and metal. The men planned to reach the northeast coast of Alcatraz. From there, they faced 3 possible routes to reach the mainland of San Francisco. Option 1, straight towards San Francisco. It's the closest shore, only about 2 kilometers. But the currents and busy shipping lanes make this the riskiest route. Option 2, the direct run to the Golden Gate area. Double the distance, more exposure, and even stronger currents. So, they opted for Route 3, a 3-kilometer first leg to Angel Island. From there, they paddle further to Tiburon, rob a store, and part ways forever. But first, they must break out of the cell block. The guards, patrolling the corridors, count all prisoners 13 times a day and even check on them in their sleep. How can they pretend to be in their cells when they're actually not? Well, they had an idea. Clarence Anglin works as a prison barber and secretly begins collecting hair from other inmates. In the utility room, the 4 men now form hats out of soap and toilet paper and cover them with the stolen hair. Using paint from art sets, they even paint them skin colored, and a few weeks later, they all have a dummy of themselves. And so, 6 weeks before the planned escape, the group was ready. The holes had been dug, the raft was finished, and all heads were painted. Now, all that was missing was the perfect time. On June 10th, 1962, the 4 men meet one last time. Tomorrow night is the night. Morris, the leader, says, "We go together or not at all." It's a promise and a huge lie. On the evening of June 11th, 1962, everything was as always. The guards counted the prisoners like every night and didn't notice anything unusual. Frank Morris waited in front of his cell for his name to be called. Now it was time. As the guards' footsteps faded in the corridor, the group began their escape. Morris, West, and the England brothers removed the papier-mâché grates and squeezed into the narrow utility corridor. 3 men met there, but West was missing. In his cell, he desperately wrestled with a steel reinforcement bar blocking his way. His hole wasn't big enough. Clarence rushed to help. Both men shook the bar with all their might, but it wouldn't budge. With a barely visible wave, Morris gave the signal. Time to go. Clarence looked at West and then stepped back. Shame was written all over his face. West stared in disbelief. "You promised," he stammered. "We go together or not at all." Morris replied, "You were just too slow. I'm sorry," turning away to hide his tears. He got up and followed the Anglin brothers, who were already climbing up the ladder. A few moments later, the three were gone, without Alan West. Arriving in the supply room, the escapees climbed the 9-meter-high pipe to the ceiling. As carefully as they could, they removed the grate to the roof ventilation shaft. Although they tried to be quiet, guards later reported a loud crash. Moments later, Frank Morris, John and Clarence Anglin were on the cell block roof. Phase 1 of the escape was complete. Now, they had to get down from the cell block roof to the sea without anyone noticing. First, the men crept to the northeast side, a blind spot for searchlights. From there, they slowly lowered themselves 15 meters down a pipe to the ground. They moved quietly to the 3.7-meter high fence. Using some tools, the men cut the barbed wire and climbed over. Not even the dense undergrowth could slow them down now. At the shore, in the dead of night, they quickly inflated their raft with an accordion. Finally, they paddled off into the icy bay and slowly left Alcatraz behind them. At 6:30 a.m., the morning count began. All 336 inmates stood up and stepped outside their cells. All, except those in cells B138, B150 and B152. Prison Administrator Arthur Dullison approached cell B138. "Morris, stand up." No reaction. He taps the sleeping Morris through the bare door with his baton. The head hits the floor, the plaster breaking, and the guard freezes. Dullison stares in disbelief at the fake head at his feet. One thing suddenly becomes clear to him: escape. Within minutes, Alcatraz is placed under a state of emergency. 200 officers swarm the island, helicopters circle San Francisco Bay, and Coast Guard boats systematically comb every square meter of the bay. Dozens of reporters stand at Alcatraz gates. The world is watching San Francisco. Alcatraz, the symbol of absolute security, had been humiliated. In the following days, the search widens for escapees from Alcatraz. On June 12th, investigators found handcrafted paddles floating in the bay near Angel Island. On June 14th, plastic bags made from raincoats were found halfway between Alcatraz and Angel Island. Inside the bags were photos of the Anglins and their family, 9 pieces of paper with a list of outside contacts, and a letter written by Clarence Anglin. On June 15th and 22nd, damaged life jackets were found. One of them less than 100 meters from Alcatraz. All of these findings indicate that the 3 men never made it out of the water alive. In addition, shortly after the escape, the crew of the Norwegian freighter SS Norefjell saw a floating body 20 miles northwest of the Golden Gate Bridge. But because they didn't report it until the fall, the FBI was never able to find the body. Alan West made a deal with the FBI and revealed details about the escapees' plan. He got transferred to another prison and died behind bars in 1978, presumably still thinking about his Alcatraz traitors. Without further solid evidence, the FBI officially closed the case on December 31st, 1979. Years later, in 2015, the Anglin brothers' nephews provided a photograph allegedly showing John and Clarence Anglin in Brazil in 1975. The facial features seem to match, and forensic experts classify it as very likely authentic. Did the brothers survive the escape after all? The FBI also confirmed in 2018 that it had received a letter written by John Anglin. It read, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I am 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night, but barely." Then he added, "Frank died in 2008. Clarence died in 2011. If you announce on TV that I will be promised to first go to jail for no more than a year and get medical attention, I will write back to let you know exactly where I am. This is no joke." Despite handwriting analysis and DNA testing, the FBI has not been able to confirm the authenticity of the letter to this day. 1 year after the escape in 1963, Alcatraz was closed. Today, the island is nothing more than a popular tourist attraction, but the legend still lives on. If Frank Morris and the England brothers had survived, the escapees would be between 90 and 100 years old today. The truth either lies buried in the depths of San Francisco Bay, or it lives in the memories of 3 men who did the impossible and escaped from the most secure prison in the world.